to it. We are recording. All right, so hello everybody. My name is Caroline Nickerson. I'm the Executive Director of Florida Community Innovation. You're probably watching this as a recording. The reason we're doing this is our life skills presentation. Florida Community Innovation, we're a civic tech nonprofit. So we empower students and volunteers of all ages to build technology, to do research, and to engage in community programs to make Florida a better place. And even though we love anybody who wants to come work with us, we end up attracting a lot of early career people or people where this might be their first work experience. And some of the things that you might take for granted if you've been working at an office job for a few decades may not come as easy. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do things. There are just certain norms that I think people take for granted on the day to day. About like calendar invites or how to write an email or all those things. So I wanted to run through them really quickly and also share some FCI flavor about research and project planning and things like that. But I wanted to run through those things just to help people where, maybe you're a first generation college student and, you haven't had an office job before, maybe you're coming back to the workforce after taking some time off and you're just like, wait, how do I do this again? No matter who you are, we want this to be a friendly environment. We want to give you the tools you need so you can get on the same page as your collaborators and get amazing work done. And we want you to achieve your dreams. So, calendar invites. I put this cartoon on here because I think it's funny. I think calendar invites are quite important, and they're a big part of pretty much any computer-centric job that you'll have. And there are lots of different types of calendar invites out there. I would say the main ones are Google versus Outlook. So I'll just be vulnerable and I'll share my own calendar. So I have a weird situation where I have a bunch of different calendars in one. And you can see I even shared my calendar that's not Google or Outlook with my Google Calendar Titan, so I can keep track of it. But basically, you send a calendar invite for someone else when you want to hold the time so they don't schedule over it, or you want to give them the information they need to log in if it's a virtual meeting, or an address if it's a physical meeting. So, for example, earlier today, this was by someone with an Outlook account. I'll go over that in a second. But earlier today, I went to the development meeting, and you can see that there's a lot of information in here. But the most important thing is the link you click on Teams. Teams is similar to Zoom, it's a video conferencing program. But the link you click on Teams to join the meeting and talk to people, you have the meeting ID and the passcode and things like that. Whereas, like an in-person meeting, like the one I'm doing on Monday, you would put the address probably in this address field so people can find it. So I'm going to be going to the Central Florida Foundation on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Oh, I need to RSVP yes for that. Why not just live in the now and do that ASAP? And this is demoing for you all good hygiene. You RSVPs on your calendar invites so they know you're coming. Yay! Um, and you can see here, here's a calendar invite where here's the recurring meeting link so people know exactly where to join on Zoom. And then some other special instructions. Typically in calendar invites, you might link, so like for the FCI general meeting one, I link the schedule, or other people would link like a Google Doc to the agenda, perhaps. And then you give the dial-in information. I also often give my phone number in case anyone I'm inviting to a meeting needs to call me for help. I think editable documents are really, really important, and we'll get into that in a second with Google Drive etiquette. But yes, so calendar invites, they give people all the information they need to join. Oh, I'm sad I couldn't join this today, the gingerbread house contest. But it gives everyone everything they need to join, and it helps them so they don't schedule over it. Outlook and Google don't always play too nice together. So Outlook calendars, I also have one. I have two Outlook calendars. I need to merge them. That's been on my to-do list for a while. Do as I say, not as I do. Um, but here's my Outlook calendar for work. I work half-time at Colorado State University. And you can see for this meeting, it's a Teams link. So Teams and Outlook, they play nice together. So it's right there. And there's no agenda for this one, but I might email one probably like early tomorrow morning just to, help focus us a little bit. So that's great. But yeah, that's the basic gist. That's what an Outlook calendar looks like. When you send Outlook invites to people who have Gmails, sometimes it won't appear on the calendar if they don't accept that. So you could note that for them in the information, like in the description, where's something that has a description. Okay, yeah, this has a description. It has like the notes doc. I organized this one. Um, I would say like, and if you have a Gmail, like please make sure you accept this as soon as possible. There are other calendars out there, like Titan is a new email service and they have a calendar. But yeah, Outlook and Gmail are the main ones. And you just want to make sure that you send the invite so people hold the time. Oh, one thing too, when you send Google Calendar invites, so like for example, I work half-time at the Human Computation Institute. Sometimes it'll add Google Meet automatically. You don't want it to do that. I typically put the Zoom link here. Some people put the Zoom link into the location. I think it's easier to do it in the description. If you want a Google Meet, fine, like add it, but just make sure it doesn't appear because I've been on so many meetings where it's actually on Zoom and it's in the description, but someone accidentally added a Google Meet and then people don't know where to go. Okay, back to our presentation. Up next is emails. So I mentioned editable documents. So when I write an email, I typically include the agenda. You want to give people as much context as possible because the people you're emailing might be pretty busy. So let's say I'm emailing, I'm just going to make this bigger here. Let's say I'm emailing Seth. So there's Seth, I email his FCI email, and the subject would be next week's, and you want to give as much information as possible. So Seth is a busy person when he skims it. Um, he knows exactly what he is trying to get out of it. For the subject line, let me think. What's something I would actually email Seth about? Oh, here we go. I'll say asynchronous. Asynchronous is a word that means not at the same time. Stand-ups over break. And I would say something like, "Hey Seth, thanks again for scheduling the asynchronous stand-ups over break." I would say something like, "Could you please put the agendas in our shared FRM folder?" And I typically put the whole link instead of hyperlinking it. People have different schools of thought about this. I think it's helpful to do the whole link in case it gets forwarded somewhere and becomes unhyperlinked. So I just need to make sure it's a link he could edit and get into. So I go to projects, um, then I would go to FRM, and then maybe I make a folder called asynchronous stand-ups fall break 2025. And then I might make like an agenda document. And I want a title that's easy. So if I have to search it and I don't go through the proper folder, I can. So I'd call this like async stand-ups fall break 2025 agendas. And you just want to make sure that Seth can, maybe he's inviting external collaborators or something. So I typically make it anyone with the link and then editor. And then let me go back to the email I started for Seth. Oh, here it is. So I would say I went ahead and made a blank agenda doc to get us started. And then I would link to the folder, share. I want to make it so anybody with the link. I'm putting the maximum permissions. I mean, obviously use your judgment about this. If it's like super sensitive and it doesn't make sense to do that, then don't. Um, but for this case, Seth might forward this around to collaborators. He's not going to post it on the internet, so I feel safe making it something anybody can edit. So yeah, and then I would send it. I think editable links are great in office settings. It's just very helpful. It gives people a way to give feedback without an email chain blowing up. I've been in lots of emails where people won't put the links and won't give the context. But that's really important to do. Oh, and then email sign off. So my email sign off is typically thank you because I think it's a nice way of being, polite and kind. Some people do best or other things, but I think thank you is good. And I would say Caroline Nickerson. Um, if this was official, I'd put my credentials, my phone number, And then I know it sounds a little weird to put your email again, but it's just in case it gets forwarded somewhere. So they can email me and follow up. And I might also put like, I don't know, my title. You can embed the signature so it appears automatically. Once again, I've been too lazy to do that. But be better than me. Embed your signature in like Google settings. So yeah, that's an example of an email I might send to Seth. Um, So I like this saying, dance like no one is watching, email like it may one day be read aloud in a deposition. A deposition is something you do in court if you're in trouble. I think it's really important to be kind in your emails. I have never sent an angry email. I'm really proud of that because I'm not going to get angry about office stuff. I'm just happy to be alive, happy to be working with you all. I think you should think about the person as a human and always, always be kind because tone is really hard to interpret over email. Plain language is also important. So write to be understood. Don't use big fancy words. I recommend that Nicole, the president of our board, put this together. This grade level checker is great because we try to write our emails at a fifth grade level because we're working with a lot of community members and we want to be as accessible as possible so the most people can benefit from FCI. So write your emails, short paragraphs, easy to understand, simple words that are to the point and concise. And this plain language guide, it was made by a government agency a while back. Nicole linked to that as well. Helpful words that you can use. Avoid jargon. Asynchronous is actually a jargon term, probably. You'd probably say like not at the same time meeting or something if you're trying to be as accessible as possible. Synergy is another jargon term. So just try to be as plain as possible. Enthusiastic. We have a lot of enthusiasm at FCI. Enthusiasm is great, but accessible. You want to be enthusiastic and accessible so people know what you're saying. Okay, Google Drive etiquette. So I like this cartoon. Can you send me the file? Do you want it by email, Dropbox, Google Drive, iCloud Drive, AirDrop, or Creative Cloud? Surprise me. The surprise will be if you find it. So we try to organize things as best as we can. One folder that I think did a really good job organizing themselves is the Obituary Project. So like numbering folders is kind of helpful. So people know where to go. Onboarding is usually a good first folder, then meeting notes, and then like, whatever your project does, just sort the folders kind of intuitively. And you want to make it easy for like people to good document titles so people can find it. I often put dates in my titles if I know I'm going to be doing like a lot of similar things. Yeah, like when we did this event, we put the date in the title. But yeah, just try to organize your folders as best as possible. Numbering them is nice. Try to think about the other person, how they'll find things. That's very helpful. And yeah, like what we demonstrated in the email to Seth, you want to make the documents things that you can edit. How to run a meeting? Okay, here we go. Here are the minutes of our last meeting. Some events have been for fictionalized for dramatic purposes. I think in terms of running meetings, I always make sure there's an agenda. So like before we met tonight, right? I sent the slides out so you all knew what you were getting. And you also just want to be really nice. Everyone on the meeting is a human being, and you want to treat them with kindness and respect their ideas and listen as much as you can and use their time well. And that's what the agenda is for, so they know that you're going to use their time well. I also think it's really important before you close every meeting that everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do afterward. So Kelly knows after this meeting that she's supposed to get back to me so we can schedule a meetup to work on her senior thesis. And I know after this meeting that I think I owe Nirvan an email address potentially. We all have a task. And that's a pretty agile stand-up level structure that's being used there. So the idea is like, everybody knows what's happening before the meeting with an agenda. But also, if you're just doing a stand-up where people are talking about what they worked on, they might say what they worked on, any blockers, and then what their next steps are. And blockers are things that kept you from getting your work done. But I think, yeah, making sure everybody leaves the meeting, knowing what they are going to do is super important and having a plan. How to set up a project? Yeah, so you just want to make sure, I like this cartoon too. This undertaking will involve a great deal of time on the phone. So for project manager, we chose the person with the best ringtone. That's me. But anyway, so when you're setting up a project, you want to keep the ultimate goal in mind. So like with Recyclopedia, for example, our ultimate goal is to create an app. We need to launch an app. So we work backwards from that. And we work backwards from that to like individual meetings. So in tech, product roadmaps are really important. We typically use like a now, next, later framework for FCI. So what we're doing now, what we want to do next, what we want to do later. And we might put general features on there and then attach some dates to them. But yeah, you start from the end goal and then track backwards to the actual meeting that you're on. And then from there, segment it out to different tasks for the team. So there are lots of different project management structures out there. There's Asana, there's Trello. I honestly think everything just kind of devolves back to a spreadsheet at the end of the day in this world. GitHub, you can add issues to GitHub. But I ultimately think that, hey, a good spreadsheet does the job. It's just everybody needs to know what they're supposed to be doing, and all these tasks need to track logically to some sort of shared outcome. Um, okay, here's the FCI flavor I mentioned. So with FCI, and we'll get into this more in a future talk, but we're trying to change the world here, but we're trying to change it in a smart way. So when we see a social problem, like human trafficking, for example, our first step before we propose a solution is we really try to understand the problem. So we read what other people have written about it. We talk to firsthand survivors. We talk to experts in the field. We read journal articles, research reports, listen to podcasts about it. Just get a real lay of the land and take notes on it systematically, usually in a spreadsheet. And some of the notes might be like problems identified, solutions proposed, you know, any other caveats, things like that. And we might identify needs, like what gaps are there? Are there any tech needs? Are there ideas that people have proposed to solve the problem where we have the skills to do that? Like with the human trafficking, we helped build the Shine project, which is an upcoming system for hospitality chains to improve their trafficking recognition trainings to hopefully make it so we can stop more human trafficking. That's a tech tool we were able to build because it sounds like, kind of a niche area, but that's kind of the point. We talked to survivors, experts. We read every research report we could get our hands on, and we found that there was this gap here that we could fill with this tech tool. You might do surveys, you might interview people, and actually, Kelly and I are actually about to do an interview protocol for her research. But yeah, you might put together some good interview questions, and I would work one-on-one with you for your survey, your interview protocol, your focus group, to make sure you're asking what you actually want to ask, and that will collect data that's actually useful and systematic. That's kind of outside the scope of this talk, but I wanted to tease that because how to do research to scope really good tech products that help make a difference in Florida in partnership with the communities we serve. That's a lot of what FCI is all about and part of the skills we want to teach you. But you can't do all that without learning how to send calendar invites, write those emails, and of course, run really good meetings. I will also say when at FCI, we work with a lot of communities from all walks of life. Some of them might be kind of alienated by the calendar invite culture. So meet them where they're at. If it's a community where everything is done through WhatsApp, get on WhatsApp. If it's a community where people expect in-person meetings, get your paper calendar out or enter it in your Google Calendar yourself and show up for the in-person meeting. I'm just showing these norms because a lot of the universities and businesses and other people you work with will expect them. It might be easier for you as you're collaborating amongst each other as students and, of course, volunteers of all ages. But I just wanted to give that caveat of meet the communities where they're at, never make anyone feel bad. I think that's a big principle at FCI. We want everybody to feel good talking to us. We never want to be condescending. That's why we have our plain language so everybody can understand. But try to be as organized as possible. It'll still be a little messy sometimes. We're all doing our best, but that's okay. So, in closing, let's change the world. Let's make a difference. Let's do some really good things through FCI. And I'm going to pause here and see if anybody who has joined has any questions. It's okay if there aren't any either, or if you don't want your question in the recording. Um, Going once, going twice before I turn the recording off. All right. So that's it for FCI life skills. If you are watching this recording later, you have a question about it, email me at caroline.nickerson@floridainnovation.org or feel free to just give me a call. I'm so excited to make a difference with you.